Congratulations, you're under contract. Yay! Woo-hoo, you did it. Now what's next? What happens next in regards to contingencies is what we're going to talk about at this video, at this point. What can you expect in your time frame? Now, contingencies, let's first break that down. Once you've accepted an offer from the buyer, there are going to be a couple criteria that need to be met. Otherwise, the contract falls apart. Now, don't worry. I still want you to celebrate. I'm not trying to burst your bubble or anything. As your agent, I'm going to walk you through the whole process. But there are a couple things you need to be aware of because contingencies are part of every contract and they're major parts of every contract. Now, your contract specifically, of course, will break down all the different contingencies that the buyers are asking for, and it will outline the specific time frame for each one. But just to give you a general idea, I'm going to cover a couple basic ones that are on every contract, right? So unless you're working with a cash buyer, if you have a buyer that is getting financed through a bank, you're going to have buyer financing contingency. So this contingency is going to be the period of time the buyer asks for to get fully approved for the loan. Now, when they present you the offer on your property, I am going to assume that I'm your realtor at this moment and that we would have asked for a pre-approval letter or pre-qualification letter from the lender. So you at least know that the buyer you're working with has started the process to some capacity, right? They didn't just put an offer on your house without even talking to a loan officer if they indeed are planning to secure a loan. Now, one, please note that a pre-qualification status and a pre-approval status from a buyer are two different things. They're just two different points in the process. Pre-qualification, the buyer would have filled out the loan application, ran their credit, and maybe had a conversation to some degree with the lender. But a large part of it has not been verified. With a pre-approval, the loan officer has taken a step further and they've verified to some degree some portion, if not all, of what the buyer has provided to them. So they've probably have received the last 2 years of their income tax report. They have done a employment verification. There's a lot of steps involved. So the lender has already kind of started that process of verifying what they put down on that loan application to make sure they can indeed purchase your property. Now, even though they've started the process, there is more to it to be completed. So in the buyer financing, they're going to be asking for a period of time to get that completed to make sure that they can purchase your property. The next kind of contingency, which kind of goes hand in hand, would be the appraisal. Now, with the appraisal contingency, the appraiser is going to go out to the property and make sure that the value is there, right? The amount that we're under contract for, the bank also agrees it's worth that investment. So if we are, let's say, under contract for $350 and the appraiser comes back and says the home is only worth $340, right? Just random number sake. We at that point have not met appraisal. And so there are some steps that we could take. We don't necessarily just have to accept it, but that is where things could fall apart, right? When the numbers don't match in a negative way. And so that portion of the contracted time is what takes up the most amount of time when closing a loan. So what I mean by that is if we have a 30-day closing, it's going to take 10 business days for the appraisal to take place. So, 20 of your days right there, just getting the appraiser to come out there, do the report and get that back in time. So that's another major contingency point right there. And like I said, I don't want you to get hung up on a comment I made of what happens if we don't make appraisal. Like if we don't meet appraisal, talk to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to hold your hands. We're going to walk through the process. It'll be fine. The next kind of contingency, a very common one, is going to be the home inspection, or for Texas is our option period. Now, option period doesn't just mean home inspection. However, during the option period, the buyers are conducting their due diligence and getting the home inspected during that time. So they may have a general inspector come out if they feel they need a specialist of some sort, like a roofer, a foundation specialist, anything like that. All that will take place during that time. If you're dealing with VA, you're definitely going to have a termite inspection done on that property. And so the repairs need to be done. Not that the repairs need to be done, but the repairs need to be agreed upon, right? So either the buyer is going to say, don't worry about it, we'll take care of everything. That's like our honey-do list. They may say, hey, we want you, Mr. Seller, to take care of these major defects that came up, like plumbing or electrical. That's pretty common, right? Either way, the contingency period where that takes place typically ranges anywhere from 5 to 10 days. That's typically what I see in my market. But again, all these contingency timeframes will be laid out for you in the beginning. There are several other ones, but we're not going to make this video 20 minutes long. The point I do want to put out is when it comes to accepting an offer, sales price is not the end all be all. Now, it might be very important to you. I'm not negating that, but you also want to be careful about all the other terms that the buyer is asking for. How long are they asking to be approved fully on the house, right? We don't want to accept an offer that says they have 25 days out of the 30 days to get fully approved, because if they don't get financially approved and they back out 5 days before you're expecting to go to the closing table, like that's gonna hurt, right? You had plans yourself. So we will go through the contract. We'll look at all of the contingencies that they're asking for, make sure you're comfortable with it, negotiate anything that you're not, and make sure that you get to the closing table fully aware of the process and what to expect and the timeframes thereof. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Take care.